The relationship. I woke up that morning and an overwhelming sense of foreboding draped itself over me like an invisibility cloak that had lost its power of invisibility and instead gave its wearer an overwhelming sense of foreboding. I made my way downstairs and ate my breakfast. Then I left the house to go to the pub to look for a nice girl dressed like a slapper. I hadn't dressed like that in a long time, but I wanted to see if the old outfit still had its pulling power. I was walking along the road, minding my own business, when I looked up and saw a chav. "Are you fucking starting?" I said. He stopped in his trackies. And then ran away. A little further on, I saw a group of kids punching an old lady in the face. It's awful, isn't it? I blame the parents, because they were holding her arms behind her back. When I reached the pub, I saw her, and I knew that she was the one. I wanted to make a good impression, so I went over for a chat with a bottle of wine. And when she saw me chatting to the bottle of wine, she came over and introduced herself. Vicky, her name was. "May I sit here?" she asked, indicating the chair. "Affirmative," I said, because I'm a bit of a twat sometimes. She was perfect. She had long black hair which swam silkily down her back. I don't usually like a hairy back, but Vicky somehow carried it off. She had a voice which was as sweet as a cherry pie, and she had a face which is always a bonus. I wanted a drink, so I ordered a black Russian to go and get me one. While he was doing that, Vicky quaffed her wine gracefully. After one glass, she was off her face, and after two, she was onto mine. It was getting late, and I looked up to see the barman at the end of the bar going ding, 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 and I thought it was time to leave before he went properly mental. I took Vicky's hand. I was pissed as a pregnancy test, but I decided to look her. It was cold and dark on the way home, and I began to get scared as my imagination started to play tricks on me. You never know who could be around, do you? I looked at my watch. I have quite an old watch. It's not particularly valuable. It's not worth much money or anything. But I was grateful for that because of muggings and stuff. I mean, I'm sure it'd never happen, right? But if I did mug someone, I'd like to think I'd get a more valuable watch out of it. When we reached her house, she invited me inside and I accepted. To be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, before that night, I'd only ever slept with two people, and so this one-on-one business was confusing me somewhat. I didn't know what reaction I was going to get from her, you know? I remember when I was on top of her, thrusting away metronomically, she suddenly began to shriek like a virgin, or some other Madonna song, and it put me right off my rhythm. The next morning, half asleep, she clutched me close to her bosom. I sighed, giggled a bit at the word bosom, and kissed her. I was jubilant. I'd never been that lucky with girls before, you know. I remember when I was younger, I really liked this one girl, and she'd flirted with me by playing hard to get. She emigrated. What a hussy. Things with Vicky went well until we reached a point where we began to argue about everything. It was ridiculous, you know. I'd come home from a hard day's work at the orphanage and we'd just argue, you know. She'd say she didn't want me anymore. She wanted to go out and find herself a nice man like my brother, because he'd found himself a nice man and he'd never been happy. When she argued with me, I never knew what approach to take, you know. I never knew whether to be angry with her or to try and be clever. Eventually I'd just start ignoring her. And she'd say, "If you're going to ignore me, just say so." But nothing irks me like a paradox. One day I was in a particularly bad mood. I'd just jacked it in at the orphanage and they'd given me the sack because of it. On the way home I stopped off at a charity shop and I bought myself a watering can. When I got home, I was so angry. I was angry, but I just wanted to have sex. I don't know if you ever get that, when you're really angry, but you just want to have sex. I said this to Vicky, and she told me she was on her period, but it just made me worse. It was like showing a red rag to a bull. I stormed out of the house and went on a very long, very angry walk. I was livid. I realised we wanted different things in life, you know? I wanted to travel, I wanted to see the world. I didn't have much money, but I could live in a tent or something. I'd go to Japan, I'd go to Africa. I really hated blacks, so I'd buy my tent from Millets instead. She just wanted to stay home, whinge and get heavier, you know? I started my walk home, and as I did so, I could feel the fury burning inside me like a casserole. As I neared the house, I could feel my anger growing exponentially. And I did a mathematics degree, so when I say exponentially, I fucking mean it. I entered the house, I picked up the now relevant watering can. Hit her over the head with it and killed her. And a few short weeks after that, I ended our relationship. Thanks very much.